Hi folks, welcome to today's video. Uh, I'm going to try and shorten things a bit from now on. Rather than saying color process video, I'll just say video because yeah, you don't need to hear the rest, do you? Plus I tend to stumble over the words. And me explaining that is causing this video to go on for longer than it should do. So anyways, I will move on. Right, today's comic. As you can see, very blue. Lots of blue. Originally with this comic I was going to go for a more detailed color scheme with the backgrounds, like go with, I didn't quite know what color I wanted to go with for the time machine, but I wanted it to be different to the background color. And as for that background color, I was going to go for a more detailed kind of a gradient look to it, like maybe give it a painterly kind of look. And the time machine itself, I was going to give it a more rendered, hand painted look, but a mixture of time concerns and just the general aesthetic of it made me go with flat colors for the entire thing, except for adding like some shading to the characters, of course. I suppose part of the aesthetic reason for like I went with that was I quite liked how bold the just the sheer just the intense lighting was, like in the various panels like coming out from the time machine. Like at first I was going to go for, like if you look at the first panel, say, where the character is standing in the shaft of light coming out from under the door, or coming out from the bottom of the entranceway to the time machine. I was going to have that more faded, as in like as it came out further from the machine, it would kind of fade out. But yeah, the initial, I mean, the way I did the lighting here was I literally just selected that area of the background and cut it out, and that was it. Like just selected it with the polygonal tool, selection tool, hit backspace, boom, gone. And I was thinking of maybe having the light a specific color, like an intense red or green or something. And I'll explain why I was thinking about that in a few moments. But yeah, there was something about just the blankness of that light that I really liked. After all, the comic itself, it's if you read my typed up process post, the comic is kind of a reference to one of my favorite Stephen King short stories, The Jaunt, which he wrote, I believe, in 1981. And not to tell you the entire plot, but one element of the plot involves people when they like use this teleportation device, which is known as jaunting. If they are conscious during said jaunt, they spend what to them feels like an eternity in a blank, what's described as a blank void. So I picture that blank void as just being just white, just like nothing, absolutely nothing. And as I said, I was considering having a specific color for the void in my comic, just to make it contrast more with the white of the page, because I was worried having so much white in the image wouldn't make it look very good. But quite the opposite. I actually really liked how it looked. Both both just the oh, what am I trying to say? Just how intense the light looks as a result of it, and the resulting void as the scientist goes into his machine. The void in the background, it really does read as a void because I mean, on a comic page, I mean, if you look at a comic page, the gutter space, as in the space in between the panels and like the bleed space around the page, more often than not, it's the like that is just the white of the page. And for all intents and purposes, that white of the page represents nothing. So it makes sense to me that in the world of a comic, nothingness, like just the sheer lack of anything existing, would be represented by just white, as in the white of a page. And that's something I very much, when I think about it, I very much get that from thinking about it, Grant Morrison's comics. The various comics he's worked on over the years, which tend to have a very uh, meta narrative thing going on in his stories, where often the actual elements of the page, as in the page itself, the blankness of the page, uh, become a key element of the visual narrative that's going on, of like characters becoming aware of their fictional existence, or maybe not even becoming aware of their fictional existence, but kind of interacting with uh, with the real world of the page, say. Not to make myself sound like big headed or anything, but that's kind of what I was going for with this. Where I thought the void and the void of the page are one and the same. One thing I was worried about though, when I was coloring this, was if you look at the panels where the character is trapped in the void, and I'm trying to represent like his eternity, or at the very least he's many years stuck in the void. I tried to represent that as a series of panels that kind of fractally break down in size, and break down and break down and break down, and you can almost imagine that going on for infinity. However, the one problem I had with that was when I took a step back from the page and I looked at how those panels read. I don't know if it was just me, but I found that rather than as it should go, where I read left to right, then I move down to the left and move right again, then I move up over to the right, down, across, and so on and so on and so on. Instead, I looked at it like I just went. I looked at the first panel of the guy, revealed against the blank background, and then I just kept moving to the right. I didn't move. I did not move to the right and then move down and across and then up and so on and so on and so on. So I felt I needed to do something there to make the reading order of the panels a bit more apparent. So what I did was I gradually faded them out, with the hopes that what would happen was the eye would be drawn to, the main set of like four mini panels, or I should say one, two, three, four, the seven mini panels on the bottom left, or yeah, around the bottom left of the page, and then it would move on to the next section, and then the eye would be naturally drawn to the gradually fading elements. Now, I don't know if it's entirely successful, but I think it's better this way than it was if I had have just left the line work um, as it was. I think it would have created maybe a bit too much confusion as to what's going on. Um, so I'm hoping not only does fading out the panels like that help with the order in which those panels are read through, but I'm also hoping that it helps with the actual narrative as well. Really getting across that this scientist is trapped in this void for so long that he comes out the other end in the past as an old man. Speaking of which, I don't know if I mentioned this in the typed up process post, and this isn't anything really to do with the coloring of the comic. But one thing I was going to have in the comic, but I ended up taking it out, was after the void sequence, I'll call it. After that sequence, I was going to have a panel of the old man reaching out for the doorway from within the time machine, and you can see the his younger self standing on the other side, and then it would go into the sequence of events you see in the last three panels. However, I took it out for two reasons. The first reason being that I had limited space to work with here, and if I had the old man taking up that bottom left panel, then I wouldn't quite be able to repeat the top three panels in the same way. Like I probably would have had to take out the first panel and just gone straight into the second panel, whereas I think it works far, far, far better the way it looks here, where the top three panels are seen again at the bottom of the page, like direct, like just parallel to to themselves, which I think it better drives home the repeating aspect of the comic. Also, I think the vast majority of readers should be able to figure out this man that came out the other side is the scientist who went into the machine. But I am hoping that I have made it clear these two characters are one and the same. Um, yeah, so I think I've talked on for long enough. Yeah, I'll put a cap on it and I will talk to you at the next video. Take care.